Plunderphonia is a project based on classical compositions of the last 250 years. It started in 2015. I was introduced to new classical music and I saw that there's an amazing innovation at the moment. That was the reason why I created 7K, a new imprint. For me it was very obvious that I want to create something similar to a series I'm doing since the 90s on K7, DJ kicks. Existing music with new music by electronic producers. Every producer probably has a different way of approaching this. But the idea remains the same. You can change the individual fragments in its structure. You can combine them. You can add your own music to it. In a traditional form, when you sample, you take a fragment and you hide it in your work. The difference to Plunderphonia is we dedicate and mention and embed the composer into the new work. I met Henrik Schwarz and Henrik said, look, I'm working on a similar idea who could fit very well based on strings, on quartet music, and we decided to do the first Plunderphonia together.
My name's Chris Sharp and I am contemporary music programmer at the Barbican. I've thought myself, and I've had conversations with artists in the past, that there is this wealth of melodic and rhythmic material in classical music which could be explored. But at the same time, clearly there was the possibility if an idea like this was executed without musicality and without taste, it would be really not great. I was interested in the idea, but for me the execution was very important.
We came to the point that we have to see if that really works, what we have in our mind. Can you listen to this music without knowing the intellectual concept behind it, and can you enjoy it? And the only way to find that out was to make a live show.
I'm the managing director of Music Board Berlin. We are a funding organization financed by the Berlin Senate. We are giving scholarships and residencies for musicians, helping festivals in Berlin. And we've got two festivals, the Fête de la Musique we are organizing and the Pop Culture Festival. And I said to her, it seems to be that this project with Henrik Schwarz and Plunderphonia that really matched the idea of what we are thinking about when we talk about commissioned works. It was the opening of the festival Pop Culture in 2018.
That enabled us to make a test of, is the idea actually working?
I guess the first thing I was struck by was the playing. The Alma Quartet, clearly wonderful and experienced musicians. The venue was dark and it was a standing audience. It was a very different type of environment to what they would be used to playing in. I immediately got the sensation that they, the players, had confidence in the project. Of course, Henrik has a background as a DJ as well as a producer, so you need that kind of DJ sensibility of understanding how long to spend in a space and how long to move on. And that is part of what made it a success for me, was that sort of judgment of tempo and narrative, I guess, across the piece. And then the other thing, of course, is the audience reaction. Members of the public are there, but also there's a lot of people who are sort of more music industry type of audience. The response could be a little bit kind of cool, you know, but actually it went down incredibly well. People seemed very enthusiastic.
It was the first time where we saw the music and everything coming together. Yeah, and goosebumps were with, at least with me and I think with all of us. We have been very lucky finding early enough people who understood the idea and the potential of Plunderphonia. I met Steve Abbott from Harmonic Artists. He said, I would love to be the agent for that. He introduced it to many people who probably would have been very difficult for me to speak to.
From our agency, we represent a number of classical artists, jazz artists. When Horst Weidenmüller first approached us in 2016, it sounded like something we'd definitely like to be involved in. I could see that this would work very well for live performances across Europe, across the UK for sure.
That ended up with Chris from the Barbican flying over to Berlin to see the first show and to create a general international interest in Plunderphonia.
Over the years we've done a lot of work which has been exploring this intersection of classical, contemporary classical and electronic music. I can absolutely see it being a fit with the programme and with some of the work that we've been doing here over the years, and that's one of the reasons I'm interested.
I met Hannes Notzke, said he wants to premiere it. He would put it into the big room of the Elbphilharmonie. I wasn't really sure how to react, because on the one hand I was very happy and on the other hand I was very surprised. Taking such a risk of such a project where you can't listen to one single sound of music.
At that time everyone wanted to play at the Elbphilharmonie. I think we both were working on this idea of classical music or pop music, or bringing those two together. It was the perfect project to develop an idea of music that could happen in such a building, in such a venue. It was kind of a blueprint. Of course I think it was a very big risk. On the other hand, I know who was involved and who was working on it. The risk was, would people understand what this concept is about, what's happening there? And they started to just really enjoy it.
I met PC, an artist I admire since many, many years, and he was switched on. I just got very amazed by having computers play instruments, make a composition in a computer and get it acoustically played by the piano. You have endless possibilities. We started to work with a musical advisor. Hanya Rani said that she would be doing it. She knows everything about the history of piano and every single piece which got written. Hanya gave us a selection of pieces which she found would be most influential for a piano, Plunderphonia.
I've always felt there's a kind of affinity between a classical music listening experience and an electronic music listening experience. My theory is that listeners who've grown up on club music and who've grown up on electronic music have a natural understanding of music that is about texture, rhythm, that's about melody and is about structure.
The beauty of this project is that you could bring it to almost every venue. You can adjust it to the purpose of the night, I guess.
I would like to see Plunderphonia on contemporary music festivals, in philharmonies, in club shows. I would like Plunderphonia to be a kind of open source for this type of production.
With this basic kind of template, you could go in all kinds of directions. It's potentially very, very fertile ground for further exploration. But how it goes depends upon the artist, you know?